So percentages are fractions out of 100. And it's always good to know the link between fractions, decimals, and percentages to carry out calculations, because we can use these equivalent forms to make our calculations easier. So we've got some percentages here, which are the common percentages that it's always good to know, because we can generally make up all percentages from the percentages shown on this list. And we want to know what the equivalent decimals and fractions are. So 100% is a fraction out of 100. If we simplify that 100 over 100, we're going to get a fraction of 1 over 1. Write that as a decimal. Our decimal is going to be 1.0 or 1.00 if we want to give it 2 decimal places. 50% is 50 out of 100, so it's 50 over 100. The highest common factor of our numerator and denominator is 50, so it will simplify to a half. And if we want to work out the decimal, we can do 1 divided by 2, and that gives us our decimal of 0.5. 25% is half of 50%. So a half of our half is a quarter. Or if we've got 25 out of 100, our common factor is 25, and there are 4 25s in 100, so it simplifies to 1 over 4. Our decimal is going to be 0.25. So it's half of 0.5, or it's 25 divided by 100 to give us our 0.25. 75% is 3 quarters, and our decimal is 0.75. Now 10% is one of the most important ones to remember, because we can create most of our percentages from 10% and 1%. 10% as a fraction is 1/10, and as a decimal it's 0.1 or 0.10. And we can always find 10% by dividing by 10. 20% is 2/10, and we can simplify that down to 1/5. And as a decimal, it's 0.2 or 0.20. 5% is half of our 10%, so it's 1/20. And as a decimal, it's 0.05. The two special ones that we need to remember are 33 1/3%. As a fraction, it is 1/3. And as a decimal, it is 0.3 recurring, which means 0.33333. So it's important not to round 33 1/3% to 0.3, because that's 3/10, not 33 1/3%. Now, 66 2/3% is 2/3, because it's double 33 1/3. And if we triple 33 1/3, we get 99 3/3, which is 100%. 66 2/3% is 0.6 recurring as a decimal. And again, use the fraction, divide by 3, multiply by 2, rather than rounding that decimal and getting an inaccurate answer. So think of a percentage as a decimal like pence in money. So 45% equals 0.45, so it's like 45p. 3% would be 0.03, so it'd be like 3 pence. So the first question we're going to look at is calculating 75% of 1.44 meters. And we're going to look at the table at the bottom, and we're going to find our equivalent fraction. So our equivalent fraction is 3/4. So working with fractions, we divide by the bottom and multiply by the top. So of means multiply. So what we're saying is that we've got 3/4 multiplied by 1.44. So we're going to divide by the bottom. So we're going to take our 1.44 and we're going to divide by 4. So 4 goes into 1 no times. We're going to put our decimal point in and we're going to carry our remainder. 4 goes into 14 3 times with a remainder of 2. and 4 goes into 24 6 times. So we've got 0.36. Now we need to multiply by the top. That's 3. So we're going to do 0.36 multiplied by 3. 6 times 3 is 18. So we put our 8 in our units and we carry the 1. 3 times 3 is 9 and add on the 1 is 10. And carry the 1. And 3 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is 1. And we've got 2 decimal places in our original calculation, so we're going to put our decimal point in. And then we have to remember to write our units on our answer. So if we wanted to work out 75% of 1.44 meters, the answer is 1.08 meters. The next example, we want to calculate 33.33% of 150 pounds. And again, we want to remember that this is an equivalent fraction of 1/3. So we're going to rewrite our calculation as 1/3 times 150. So we're dividing by the bottom. So we're going to divide 150 by 3. 3 doesn't go into 1. Carry the 1. 3 goes into 15 5 times. 3 goes into 0 0 times. So our answer is going to be £50. And don't forget your units. There's an alternative strategy when we're working percentages, particularly without a calculator, and it's by using a combination of simple percentages. So for example, if I wanted to work out 38%, I could work out 3 10%, a 5%, a 2%, and a 1%. Or I could work out 38% by doing 3 lots of 10% and 8 lots of 1%. And remember, as I said earlier, 10% is divided by 10. And to get 1%, you're going to divide your 10% by 10. And all percentages can be made up of 1s and 10s, as long as they're not decimal percentages. So we're going to calculate 13% of 520 grams. So we're going to start off by saying that we have 100%, and that equals 520 grams. We want to work out 10% because we're going to make up that 10% by saying we're going to have 1 10% and we're going to add on 3 1%. So our 10% is going to be 520 divided by 10, giving us 52 grams. Now I need 1%, so I'm going to divide my 10% by 10. So I'm going to take the 52 that I've just calculated, divide it by 10, and that's going to give me 5.2 grams. Now, if I go back to my original calculation over here, I need 1 10%, so I've got that, but I'm needing 3 1%. So now I need to work out what that 3% is going to be. So my 3% is going to be 5.2 multiplied by 3. So 3 2s are 6 and 5 3s are 15. And so now I've got that 3%. And now my final step is to add them both together. So my 13% is going to equal 52, and I'm going to put my 0.0 placeholder in so that I can line up my decimal points, plus 15.6. That gives me 6. 5 plus 2 is 7, and 5 plus 1 is 6. So my final answer is going to be 67.6 grams. And don't forget your units.